Hey, agripreneurs, welcome once again to Panuka Agribees Hub. This is yours truly, Mr. Panuka, right here at Panuka Farm, and today we're shooting this video from our mega, Shadenet. This is the 10,800 square meter mega, Shadenet. I guess you actually remember when we actually put this together just a couple of years ago, and yeah, happy to do this video from here. So today's topic that we want to look at is what exactly can you do, Shadenet? Are there any benefits of incorporating Shadnets in your, production infrastructure? And what kind of crops can you actually do, in a Shadnet? Now, the first thing, obviously, is what's the rationale for Shadnet, farming? If you're actually farming in open field, there's quite a lot of things that you can actually do. We do that. We actually started with, open field, farming. But along the way, we actually saw value in beginning to invest in shed nets. This obviously is from a perspective of protected, farming, mainly issues around, evaporation, and it's kind of the middle ground between open field and, of course, greenhouse, farming. From the perspective, obviously, also of pest management. So there's quite a lot of benefits. But I think the best is, for us to just showcase exactly what we are able to do from, the shed nets, which I'll actually show in a short while. But before that, let me talk about the kind of infrastructure that you can actually put together. You can actually do DIY, which is, do it yourself in terms of putting together a shed net. But you also need to understand that some of the material that you use must actually be very durable. Otherwise, you find it becomes a bubblegum infrastructure 3 years down the line. It gives in. We have a shed net that we've had for close to 10 years now. It was actually part of the first DIY greenhouse that we actually attempted to do. But then this is a greenhouse that sank in. And then we actually repented. We knew what kind of battles we actually needed to get involved in, and we transformed it into, a shed net. And it's been with us for quite a number of years. But the material that we used, proper shed net and, net, 40%, keeps it going for close to 10 years now. And you actually note that the material that we've used in this mega shed net also, sticks around for quite a long time. It's already 2 years since we put together this infrastructure. You can actually see it still is intact, albeit with just a bit of wear and tear. But obviously, that's something that we keep, taking care. But in most of the shed nets, what we've actually been able to do, you actually see like behind here, there's quite a lot of iceberg lettuce. That's something that we've been doing quite extensively. You actually note that with iceberg lettuce, sometimes it actually gets brittle, but then also from managing, the evaporation and the impact of sunlight. Iceberg lettuce is actually quite, sensitive. And so in summer, when the sun is, blazing hot, this environment actually, comes in very handy. And from the different, shed nets that we actually have on the farm, you can actually attest that the quality of our iceberg lettuce is of international standard. And again, it's not an exaggeration. We can actually compete, globally in terms of the quality of the produce that we have here. And partly that's credited to, Shadenet infrastructure. But of course, the Panuka touch is also able to actually, bring out the best of the iceberg lettuce even in open field. Sometimes it actually does quite well. It needs to breathe. But that's the kind of stuff that we are actually able to do, in a Shadenet, mainly iceberg lettuce. But what we've actually also started doing over time, like in here, is that we've actually integrated, fruits together with iceberg, lettuce production. We're actually utilizing, the spaces that are just aligned, within the poles that we used when constructing this, shed net. And so we're actually not interfering in the croppable area. But remember, putting together an infrastructure like this costs you quite a lot of money. And so the thinking is that you need to maximize the use of, the space. And one of the things that we must actually indicate is, you see, if we only concentrated on doing, iceberg lettuce here, the payback period for this infrastructure might actually be pushed, far off. And as such, part of optimizing the use of land, which is one of the things that we actually talk about in one of our newest courses on the Panuka AgriBiz, which is the app that you can find on Play Store, Panuka AgriBiz, where we have different, agribusiness, courses. There, we've actually talked about how you can actually optimize the use of land. And practically, this is what we're actually doing right here by integrating iceberg lettuce with, the oranges. We've got close to about 400, orange trees right here in this mega, shed net. And those are some of the things that you can actually do to optimize the use of, land. So with shed net farming, you really need to know exactly what you plant, given that if you do it properly, like what we put together here, it actually costs quite a lot of money. So as such, choose your battles very wisely, because if you're going to put rep here, and also depending where you're selling it, the returns might actually be pushed far off. So choose the battles. What exactly are you going to put in such an infrastructure? Even ourselves, like I said, when we just looked at, okay, we're going to do iceberg lettuce quite intensively, but we also realized we needed to add a bit more value in this, infrastructure, and that's the more reason we actually pushed in, oranges, so that over time we'll basically be looking at, fruit farming, getting value from the oranges, but also from the sale of, iceberg, lettuce. So that's, part of, the things that you can actually do. There's a lot that you can actually do in, shed nets. Of course, one of the things that has actually emerged is that maybe the net is too dense, 40% for fruit farming. But yeah, we've actually learned to do quite a lot of trials, and we are quite optimistic that, this will turn out, right. So look at potential investing, in shed nets, but really look at whether you've got a business case for doing that. And the business case comes into the choice of what you farm, and of course your farming practices and the kind of markets that you've got. Otherwise, it can actually be quite a huge expense. There's a lot of interesting things that you can actually do in open field. And you may have noted that on Panuka Farm number 2, we are actually 100% doing open field farming. So again, we're demonstrating that your art to farm is not restricted to shed net farming or greenhouse farming, which will, by the way, we'll talk about in another video, whether it's a myth. I think we've picked up quite a lot of lessons on how not to do greenhouse farming, how to do greenhouse farming. So look out for that video pretty soon on the Panuka AgriBiz YouTube channel. So guys, I hope this has been very informative in terms of the use of shed nets in your farming enterprise, looking at improving the quality of your produce, but look at how you can actually integrate other things so that you productively use the land. So guys, hope you can actually get on our Panuka AgriBiz hub and enroll in the various courses that we've got. Like we keep saying, one of the things that we're focusing on the hub is how do we remodel farming as a business ethos. It's one thing to understand agronomy, but agronomy alone doesn't translate into profits. Okay, it's part of the process, but then there's quite a lot of business remodeling that needs to be done for you to really farm as a business. And in the various courses that we've got on our app, which you can download on Play Store, we get to talk about that in greater detail, with the latest one being farming as a business, blueprint, how to unlock, the various, factors of production. And the value proposition, like we say, lies in the fact that we are fellow agripreneurs that are actually doing it in practice. So, yeah, all the courses sanitized from all manner of lullabies, guys. So yeah, this has been yours truly, one Mr. Panuka, signing out, and I'll see you in the next one.